administration's agenda. I want to welcome Georgia Representative Jody Hice to the program. Hi, Congressman. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
So let's start with the White House. Essentially, they came out today saying that it's not budging from that nearly $2 trillion price tag on a COVID relief bill, even after speaking with some Republican senators. And we also know the Senate just passed a resolution that's essentially setting up the process of passing a bill with a simple majority, again, meaning no GOP support. The White House says that they want a package that's going to rise to the occasion, but would the people of Georgia agree with that? Do you think that they want more $2,000 checks and everything else that's attached to that plan?
No, look, it's remarkable that we're looking at yet another so-called stimulus package in the ballpark of $2 trillion. We don't have this kind of money to be sending checks out every month. And listen, it doesn't really matter what the amount of the check is, $600, $1,500, $2,000. None of those checks can replace a livelihood. What must happen is an effort to reopen the economy. That is what stimulates the economy, not continuing to further ourselves into massive debt, now on the verge of exceeding $30 trillion. We've got to stop that kind of nonsense and start reopening the economy in a safe manner.
Well, and a lot of the administration's agenda seems to be getting pushed through executive action. And although we're seeing the president say that he wants bipartisanship, we're not necessarily seeing that at the moment. Do you think we're actually ever going to see that during his term?
Not under the current pathway that we're going. Listen, and it's not just the Biden administration. It's right here in the House under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi, under the leadership in the Senate of Chuck Schumer. These folks are just railroading their radical left-wing socialist agenda down the throats of us here in Congress and the people of the United States. We are having very little interaction, very little say-so. Most of the time, our amendments are not even considered in order. We're not having hearings to speak of, on and on and on. More and more, under the leadership of the Democrats, the role of Congress is increasingly becoming meaningless. And I believe the American people are beginning to recognize that. This is not supposed to be run by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and in this case, executive orders by the president. We are here as representatives of the people to bring to the table our thoughts, our ideas as well, and we are to debate through those issues and let policies emerge from there. But currently, that simply is not the case.
Okay. And I want to pivot here. House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy is meeting with freshman Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene as Democrats continue to pressure him to take away her committee assignments. At the same time, Kevin McCarthy's also expressed support for Representative Liz Cheney after she voted to impeach President Trump. So do you think McCarthy's going to be able to unite the Republican Party ahead of the midterm elections next year, considering the fact that these two lawmakers I mentioned represent two very different factions of the GOP at the moment?
Well, but keep in mind, these two women are totally different issues, what they bring to the table. I mean, one is our conference chairwoman. That is one thing. She was elected to that position by her colleagues here to represent us as a GOP conference. Marjorie Greene, on the other hand, is elected by her district to represent her district. And there's two totally different issues, and I don't think it's proper in any way to try to unite the two. What bothers me, particularly when it comes to Marjorie Taylor Greene, is the things that she has allegedly said are years old. And yet she was still elected, and the Democrats seated her knowing that all these things were there. At the same time, we have multiple Democrats who have said horrendous things while being members of Congress, and not a thing has been done to correct them or to punish them in any manner. It is totally unjust what they are trying to do to Marjorie Greene, and whether you agree or disagree with her comments, the way she is being treated is so hypocritical by the Democrats, by their own refusal to treat and discipline their own members who have said things much, much worse than what Marjorie Greene has ever said.
All right. And then finally, Congressman, it looks like the impeachment trial will be happening, even though it looks increasingly a lot like it's very unlikely that there's actually going to be enough votes to have a conviction. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, President Trump is going to be acquitted, as well he should. This is the second time in a year that the Democrats have weaponized a constitutional tool of impeachment to deal with a sitting president who is engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors. Of course, that did not happen the first time. It was a false impeachment the first go round, and now it's equally as false, and yet this time we don't even have a sitting president. How do you impeach someone who's not even the president? This thing is nothing but a hoax. It is going nowhere. President Trump, as he well should be, is going to be totally, absolutely acquitted in this.
And do you foresee, just a last one here while I have you, do you foresee President Trump having influence in the 2022 midterm elections that we have coming up around the corner?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, President Trump is extremely popular. People love the fact that he ran for office as an outsider, someone who said what he was going to do, and then when he was elected, he actually did what he promised the American people. He is a major mover and shaker in the Republican Party. Nothing has changed in that regard. And we look forward really to his continued leadership in multiple fronts, regardless of how that may look. There's no question in my mind that Donald Trump is still going to be a major, major leader in the Republican Party.
All right, Georgia Congressman Jody Hice, thanks so much for speaking with us today. We appreciate your input.